Hello everyone, my name is Chris Frederick from Stretch to Win. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Chris Frederick from Stretch to Win. Let me just check the settings real quick because I'm by myself here. Yep, we're all good to go. Sorry about that. So again, if you're just joining us, I'm Chris Frederick from Stretch to Win. Thanks for joining me. I'm a physical therapist and I run the Stretch to Win Institute with my wife. I want to thank Unikinetics for hosting and sponsoring this course and for publishing our book, Stretch to Win, which is now in its second edition. A quick background of the Core 4 on the Floor, which is the name of this webinar. I developed it about 15 years ago on players with the Arizona Cardinals football team. Had lots of success using it as a pre-activity dynamic warm-up and as a post-activity recovery program. And then as a physical therapist working with rehabilitation of my patients, I had a lot of success using it as a corrective mobility and flexibility program to get pain reduction, pain elimination, and of course, functional improvement. So I'm really excited to share this with you and encourage you to join me and do this program. We're going to do a self-assessment, self-mobility, self-stretch, but I have to give you some precautions here. If you have any injuries, low back issues, or disc issues, don't do it. That's the medical disclaimer. You are your own person. You have your own responsibility in doing this. So please don't do it if you have any pain and just watch. Otherwise, please join me. Here's the guideline for where to stretch. We call it R1, resistance 1, or a light stretch. If you just stick up your finger and join me, and let's say use your non-dominant hand and the other finger and just push on it, that would be where the R1 would be. If you take your finger and traction it up to the ceiling and then go back, you can see it goes 3 times further. So that's what's the difference between traditional stretching and just one principle of fascial stretching and Stretch to Win is we add traction, but we do that to ourselves, all right? So remember, only go to that first feeling of a light stretch. We're gonna let momentum, repetition, and gravity do the rest. It's all magic. So let's warm it up. Let's start with something I call windshield wiper. Some of you may have seen this, but the purpose is to get that grease of the joint, the oil of the joint called synovial fluid, to move around your hip joint, to open up your hip joint capsule, which is the deepest part of your connective tissue in your fascial anatomy. It's way down deep and it wraps around your joint. You're going to get that to open up first, and then the muscles respond faster. So here we go. We're going to put our feet a little wider than the hips, and we're going to lean back and just put your hands back for stability. I'll show you from the side, but just stay where you are. And what we're going to do is you're not going to hold yourself up here and hold a tight core. That will restrict your mobility. And you're not going to be lazy and hang back like this, of course. Not good for your back. Somewhere in between like this. So I'll go back to the start position. Like I said, feet wider than your hips. Hands wide. Take a deep breath in, and let's do a quick assessment. Let your legs just fall to one side, and notice one of the legs here is an external rotation, other leg is an internal rotation. Notice the height off the floor. Notice how it feels in your hips and your back. Inhale, coming back. And exhale, go to the other side and see if there's a difference. I have an imbalance. If you can see, this is a lot higher on this side than it was on the other side, and in fact the other leg is a lot looser going into external rotation. So that's my imbalance. Do you have one? So take note of that and see if it changes with this program. So bring it back and let's start the warm-up. Inhale in the start position, and then exhale and just let it drop. Don't push it down, don't force anything. Inhale, coming back. And let's go to the other side. We're going to go slow. It's called the slow stretch wave. Inhale, coming to the middle, and drop it again for the second rep. And the slow stretch wave is a it's a post-activity recovery program because it's a slow phase. Inhale, coming to the middle. Exhale, and just watch it drop. You can see my legs are just dropping without me forcing it. One last time, inhale. And let it drop on the exhale. And I'm pretty much close down to the floor at this point. Some of you may be tighter, and that's okay. Inhale, and last rep, down to the floor. If it goes to the floor, if you're still up high, that's okay. We're just getting started. And come back to the middle. So that's the warm-up. And now we're going to start with the formal core 4 on the floor. So we're going to start with the first muscle. We call it a key or target muscle, but we don't do isolated muscle stretching. That's old school. We don't do that here because it doesn't follow fascial anatomy. So we name it after one muscle, in this case the glute that I'm sitting on this side, but it's going to involve your low back, maybe a little bit of the hamstring, and other parts of your body as well. That's fascia, the rest of the fascia connection. So what I'm going to do with this first move is I'm going to put my foot, and just join me, I'll take this really slow so you can get it. Put the foot on your knee if you can do that. I'm in a side sit position, foot on my knee, but if you can't do that, it's okay. Just let it open up and wherever it feels comfortable, and the other knee is bent comfortably behind. If you can, put one hand on either side of your knee and try to make that knee and chest line up so that the center of your chest is going over the center of your knee. Hands out to the side. So let's do this together. You're going to take a deep breath in and lift. That's the traction. And then you're going to slowly lower by bending your elbows until you just start to feel stretch in those key areas I mentioned. Now drop your chin to your chest and then curl back. Curl back up both from each bone in your spine. And then lift again. So that's the first breath. We're going to go a little bit further if it's okay for your body. So here we go again. We inhale as we lift and traction. We exhale and reach out and over our knee to where you just start to feel it. And then you bend your chin to your chest. And then you push through your hands slowly, rolling back on that glute. And then come up nice and tall. One last breath. Deep breath in, and let's go a little bit lower if you can. Now some of you who are tighter, you can stay right here because we're going to start side-to-side movements. If you can go a little lower, put your elbows down for stability. Go a little bit lower, and we're going to start moving from side to side to spread the stretch over other fibers in that low back glute area. So here we go. Deep breath in. And exhale, pick a side, and look over your shoulder. And it's okay to lift up your elbow to help yourself move to one side. Coming back, inhale. Exhale, other side. Now, I don't feel a stretch on this side. Some of you may, some of you won't. But that's the difference between either side. Coming back, inhale. Last breath. Exhale, go a little further if you can, but don't force it. No strain, no pain. Coming back, inhale. And exhale, last breath. And slowly come back. Take another deep breath. On the exhale, walk your hands back. So we just did the glute, which sits in what we call the functional line of fascia, or the functional neck is what we call it in our book. The next move is now going to be the Quadratus lumborum, which sits in the spiral neck and part of the deep back neck. So what we're going to do here is we still have our legs in the same position. We just finished the glute. Join me as we slowly take a walk, and we're going to go to that R1 or that light stretch position. So feel a light stretch, and some of you may stop here because you're a little bit tighter. Others may move a little further because you're a little bit more mobile. So find the spot that works for you. And then don't lock your back elbow. Let it bend and knee. And look over your shoulder and get the fascial spiral neck all the way up into the neck and into your eyes. And then shift your weight back to the front hand and inhale. So we're just shifting weight back and forth. So here we go. Inhale, lift, turn, and lean, and melt into stretch. Take your time. Ease off. You can walk your hands a little further if you want to, but don't get greedy. It's never a good thing. Inhale, lift, turn, and lean. And enjoy that stretch. Ease off one more time. Inhale deeply, lift, turn, lean, and let it melt. Take your time. And ease off. So this stretch, I felt it on this side of my waist as well as the other side in my back as a good stretch. You might also feel it in the hip. And in other places, we're all different, right? We have scar tissue, we have surgeries, we have injuries. So it's all good as long as it doesn't hurt for now. So that was the spiral neck, the QL. The next is going to be what we've all been waiting for a lot of us who have been working at desktops and computers, good old hip flexors. Psoas going all the way up from hip up to the sternum diaphragm, so it's going to affect our breathing, iliacus, other hip flexors, and all that's really good, but we're not just targeting the hip flexors. This is what's called the deep front net. So it involves structures from your feet really, all the way up your chest, even around your heart, and up into the sternum, the breastbone, into the neck, and into your throat. So it can potentially release anything that's restricted in these areas. And we take it nice and slow and easy with this. We're going to bend backwards into spinal extension, it's called. So if you have any problems with that, don't push it. No pain. And don't feel that compression in your back either. Just stop shy of that and just try to enjoy a good stretch. So here we go. We're going to start on our side with good stability on this arm. We're going to walk ourselves back until you just start to feel a stretch. Now, my first place is my TFL. That's a hip flexion too. I feel a stretch right in here. I start to feel in my back a little bit, but it doesn't hurt. And maybe my iliacus. So I'm going to go back a little bit further, and I take up more tension in here. Then I'm going to lift my chin, and that really brings the fascial stretch all the way up the deep front net. And be careful, you're going this way, you're not going this way, because then the hip drops, the stretch stops, you lose the stretch, all right? So here we go. We're going to start in a curl position in the front with a deep inhalation, and then we're going to lean back nice and easy and try to push off the front hand more than using the muscles of your back to arch so you don't get a cramp. Raise your chin, look up, enjoy that nice stretch on the exhale. Ease off, inhale coming to the front again, and then exhale going into the stretch, and you can either stay in that shorter position or go into a longer position if you're more mobile and enjoy that stretch. And one more time, inhale coming forward, no stretch, and exhale into the stretch, reaching, looking, chin up, eyes up, enjoy that. And then slowly come out of the stretch just a little bit and you keep yourself propped up. So that was the hip flexors, which lie in the deep front net. I don't know where you felt it, but I certainly felt it all the way up the upper part of the deep front net, all the way up into my chin. It was a really good stretch, and I hope you enjoyed that. The last one on this side will be the lats. We call it the lats, but it's not just the lats, obviously. It involves the QL, it involves your pecs, it involves the rotator cuff. It's connecting the upper body to the lower body. We did 3 stretches of the lower body pretty much. Now we're tying in the upper body with a large muscle called the lats. So from here, we're basically going to swim in the air. So stabilize the bottom arm, really strong, keep that position, and then reach up to the ceiling straight up. Think about tractioning or expanding your joints, reaching to the ceiling. I feel a stretch right off the bat there if you do it right. Take a deep breath in, and now exhale and slowly reach overhead to whatever you can do. You may stop sooner, but I'm going to keep going because I'm a little more flexible. And I start to feel the lats being picked up and other muscle groups all the way down my back. And now if you can, drop your chest down towards the floor, keep reaching, and then finish with a swimming motion. That's the first rep. Again, stabilize to protect your joint on the bottom. Mobilize on top, reaching, expand your joints as much as you can. Take a deep breath in, slowly exhale, look at your hand as it rises overhead, follow it, and then lower gently and stabilize that shoulder so you don't fall. Reach, and then swim. One last time, stabilize, mobilize, reach, inhale, slow exhale overhead. Feel the rib cage open up, each of the ribs, all the intercostals, the lats, the teres major, all the way down your back, and drop your chest and reach, and finish. You did one side. Let's do a quick windshield wipers just to see and reassess. Has anything changed? Let's get rid of any kinks we may have gotten because we may be over-contracted. My hips already feel a lot looser. I feel an imbalance because I did one side. So now I'm ready to do the other side. Otherwise, we're going to walk in circles. So let's do the other side. Here we go. We're going to flow with this one a little bit more because you know how to do it, right? Not. Or maybe you do. I don't always remember choreography. I was a dancer. Foot on the knee. If you can't get it on the knee, move it away. That's fine. Put your hands on either side of the knee. You can't do that, then put your hands where you can put them. That's fine too. But this is the goal. Try to get your chest over that knee. All right, so here we go. Let's look at the time. We're good. So here we go. I'm going to inhale and lift. That's traction. I'm going to just go down to where I just feel the stretch right in my butt. I feel it in my rotators. I'm going to drop in my piriformis. Chin to chest. Curl back by pushing through your hands and curl your spine. Don't come back straight. Now straighten up with an inhale. Deep inhale to the top. Slow exhale as you lower. Can you go a little further without strain or pain? So you feel that resistance pretty good. And then you drop chin to chest. And then again, curl slowly back. Take your time. Come up through each bone in your spine. Feel that proprioception start to work. Deep inhalation, out and over for the last one. Now stay down there. We're going to go side to side. If you're tighter, stay up here. You can go side to side here. If you're more mobile, come down to here. And we're going to do it down here. So inhale and pick a side. And this is my tighter side. So I'll look over my shoulder and lean on the exhale. Coming back, I inhale. And then I exhale to the other side. And inhale and exhale, and coming back with an inhale, and always exhale on the stretch, on the move, and come back with an inhale, and one more time to the other side, and finish. Excellent. Let's take another deep breath, and walk your hands back up by curling your spine, and exhale. Let's do QL, that's the twist. We're going to take our hands, walking to the back slowly until you just start to feel a stretch. Some of you feel it right away. This is where you're going to stretch. Others go a little bit further, right? So this is where they can go. So this is what you can do for yourself and for your clients if you have clients that want to stretch. So what we're going to do now is we lean forward, shift your weight to the front arm, deep inhalation. Exhale as you lift, lean, turn, and look over your shoulder and enjoy that stretch. Coming back with a deep inhalation. You can start moving your hands if you're more mobile. If not, just stay where you are. Deep inhalation, and now same thing. Exhale, slowly turn, look, and lean, and melt into the stretch. That's the second breath. And now last one, shift your weight to the front arm. Deep breath in, and lift. Look and lean. Enjoy that stretch. And slowly come back. Put your arm down. It's hip flexor time. We're targeting the top hip flexor. Again, precautions for your back. No pain. And we start going back on that shoulder until you just start to feel a stretch. Again, in the front, in the back. It's all good. It's all fascial stretching. It's not just one muscle. But just make sure you have no pain. And then let's test it. Can you lift your chin? And does that accentuate the stretch? Do you feel more? If not, and you want a little bit more stretch without being greedy, position yourself a little bit deeper, a little further into the stretch, a longer position. Okay? If that's good for you. So here we go. Let's start. Let's shift our weight or curl to the front. Deep inhalation. And then reach out. Look up and lean back. Try to push off your front hand and align the stability of the back arm and get a nice little arch in your back without forcing it, otherwise you're going to cramp. And then come forward with a deep inhalation. And then exhale again into the stretch for the second breath. Go into it and fine-tune position and enjoy. Look up and slowly come forward. Last one, deep inhalation. And exhale and lean back, all the way back and melt. And finish. On that side, I felt it in my quads too, but that's good, right? That's the fascia, that fascial connection. Speaking of connections, let's connect the upper body, the lat stretch. So here we go. Strong stability on this arm. Push down into the elbow to stabilize that joint so it doesn't move and get hurt. We're going to focus on this arm now. Expand your joints by reaching, that's traction, and then slowly, deep breath, and then slowly overhead, exhale, and watch your hand and follow it overhead as far as you can go. Don't compare yourself to me. And then overhead never maxes out, and then drop your chest if you can, just do a twist, and then swim. And repeat, stabilize, mobilize, deep breath in, overhead, feel those ribs just open up. Some people have injured their ribs, fractured ribs, surgery, this could all mobilize scar tissue and things like that. Drop your chest down and reach, and swim. Last one, stabilize, reach, mobilize, overhead, take your time, watch your hand, exhale, exhale, and then reach out, and finish. Swing your legs, and let's do some windshield wipers one more time as a reassessment to see where we're at. Stand up and do your squat, do your golf swing, do your swimming stroke, whatever it is you did as an assessment. That's what you would do now to see, are you 100% improved, 50% improved, no improvement, I'm worse. Any of those things can happen, but most of you, the majority of you, feel a benefit, you feel more mobile, more flexible, and you probably will have better function. That's what's associated with that. For those of you that feel more of an imbalance, it's because we have to customize it to do a corrective mobility program. So let's pick one or two movements and show you an example of how you can use the core 4 on the floor as a corrective movement. But before we do that, actually, real quick, or not so quick, you can use, we did it slow. We did what's called the slow stretch wave I mentioned at the beginning, which is pre-activity preparation or warm-up. If you would do this, if you want to do this, sorry, that was post-activity. We did it slow for recovery. For warm-up, we would do it maybe 3 times faster. So for instance, if I would do the glute stretch, I would really get into these undulating movements, going lower and lower, side to side, maybe switch and do the other side the same way, and so on and so forth. So that's the way to turn it into a dynamic pre-activity warm-up or dynamic stretch series. And then you do it a lot slower after the activity to restore range of motion. You may lose overnight when you wake up. You usually feel stiffer and tighter from a hard workout training. This will help you recover much faster. So getting back to corrective, if you notice with me, I told you I had an imbalance on one side. So I'm going to have to individually design my stretch program to address the correction. So here we go. You can join me if you want. Maybe some of you probably have this too. So going on this side, I'm doing the assessment now. This is the warm-up, windshield wipers. This feels pretty good. Full external, internal, and of course I'm warmed up. I did the core 4 already, but that's good. Coming back, now when I go to this side, I still have an imbalance. This one is tighter, it's higher. And I actually do have a hip problem on this side. I won't get into that. This side's normal. So this is the issue right here. So I can turn this into a correction right off the bat. And I advise doing something like a 2 or 3 to 1 ratio of movement to the tighter side compared to the other side. So this is the example. Inhale and release. And again, I'm not forcing it. Inhale and release. Now it's starting to drop. Inhale. I might push it a little bit. So I'm actually encouraging my knee to go down to get a little more active mobility. Inhale, I'm going to do 4. And now my knee's on the ground. And if I just let it drop now, that's pretty good. And I feel pretty good in my hip, all right, compared to this side. They're pretty darn close right now. So that's how you would turn it into a corrective program, all right? One more thing would be the hip in the glute. A lot of people, so either you maybe have this experience or your clients will get this experience, or your patients. When they do the glute stretch and they come down, they get the hip impingement. 2 things you can do as a corrective move is more traction and perhaps a little more duration in the stretch. But the other thing is, if you know the hip flexors are tight, you may just want to go to a hip flexor stretch, get them to open up the hip flexor with their chin. You can have them start turning and rotating, and then go back and retest or reassess, and boom. 9 times out of 10, people reduce that hip impingement is gone. And so that's how you can use it as a corrective mobility program. It works super fast, and the program is super fast too. You know, you can do the dynamic in about 7 minutes, even 5 to 7 minutes. The dynamic part, you can do a slower recovery part in about 12 to 15 minutes. So it's all very manageable that most people can fit into their program, whether you're an athlete or not an athlete. We have about 5 minutes left. We're only doing a 30-minute. But I wanted to mention, though, that I've had a lot of success with this. My students have had a ton of success. I keep getting reports. Even readers of my book write to tell me that it's helped them so much. Of course, the book has a lot more. Get the book for you here. The book has a lot more in it in terms of assessments. It's the 2nd edition, Human Kinetics Stretch to Win. And I recommend really going through that assessment on your own body and with a couple of friends. And you'll be so surprised how much you can pick up on these easy, simple assessments. I have 2 assessments, a quick one that uses the core 4. Actually, it's called the grade 8. I have 4 other movements. And then I have a longer one for people who are more complicated, more issues. And that's about it. Last thing I wanted to mention. So we do the core 4 with other stretches. We have a special that I can offer you guys only for those who are watching me now. You get a special on the Life Stretch certification where we teach you how to assess a class, but you can use it on individuals. So you can do this for groups, small groups, large groups, for individuals. It's called Life Stretch. So we have an online certification. It's now $30 off just for the webinar. It's $169. The register at stretchtowin.com, and the discount code is HKC4-2020. So I hope you can do that, because you can implement it right away and do virtual training right now during the pandemic and forevermore. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, this short webinar. There's a lot more to this, like I said, but I really enjoyed spending this time with you. I hope you enjoyed the time with me. And I guess contact me on the contact form at stretchtowin.com. We have a contact form. If you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer them. So on that note, I'm going to wish you all a very happy, healthy, safe weekend, and until we meet again.